Today on America's Court with Judge Ross.
I asked him, I'm like, what's going on? And he said, do you know that cake on the stove? And I said, yeah. He says, well, I put it back in the oven and I put it to the highest temperature.
In my courtroom, it's about equity and fairness. You want him to pay $628?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, knock my socks off. Justice should be more than just some foreign concept. I actually want you to learn something. The law talks about something may in fact be true, but can they prove it? And that's what's tough.
Fair, firm, compassionate. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. Plaintiff Janet Lewis claims her kitchen was set on fire by her brother's stepson. She's suing for $4,500 for damages to her kitchen. Defendant Leo Miller says his stepson has a disability and is not to blame for the fire.
All rise. Remain standing and come to order. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Kevin Ross presiding.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated.
All parties been sworn, Your Honor.
Third, get everybody's honest. Even though we do these cases all the time, I'm still fascinated when siblings and parents sue each other. Miss Lewis, you're suing your brother. $4,500 over some damage to your residence, some sort of fire that unfortunately happened.
Yes, I am, Your Honor. I'm suing my brother for $4,500 due to the damage that was in my kitchen.
Right.
Due from his stepson.
Right. So the stepson is officially then your, I guess you wouldn't say step-nephew, he's just your nephew for all intents and purposes.
Yes.
Fair enough?
Yes.
And what's the relationship between the two of you? Because I can't understand why you couldn't work this out without coming here.
I can't understand either.
Well, we have a very good relationship. He has helped me through my childhood. Our mother was very abusive, and he protected me. And
Now, when you say abusive, what is she referring to? Do you know what she's talking about?
It was physical abuse. So we had to be taken away from our mother for a couple of years. We were with our aunt, and after a couple of years, she sobered up, and we were.
Oh, she had some addiction issues.
Yeah, addiction and abuse. Yeah.
Okay. Was there any history with abuse and addiction with her sibling? I mean, with her parents? Otherwise, your grandparents?
Not that we knew. You know,
never
she
talked
hit.
about it.
Yeah, she hit it.
But I take it that experience, for some people, it could cause siblings to get closer. For some, it drives them further apart. How did that relationship?
Well, for a while, it brought us closer. I
Okay.
mean, we were helping each other out through a bunch of different things.
Well, she was helping you out on this particular instance.
Yeah, she was.
Right?
She was helping
Because she
me
didn't
out.
have to, from what I recall in the complaint. You needed her, and she said, I will step up and help you.
Which I appreciate. When she does that, I appreciate it very much.
Does she do it often?
Every now and then. If we
Okay.
can't get a babysitter, such as what happened on the evening of the fire, you know, our babysitter canceled on us at the last minute, so we were going to a Fleetwood Mac concert, and I didn't know what else to do, so I called my sister.
You didn't know anything else to do. So the idea of actually hiring someone to watch, what's your son's name?
Jonathan, call him John.
All right. So John could have been watched by someone professional at your house.
Not at such short notice. I mean, we had 15 minutes. We were about to leave the house. We were all dressed up, ready to go, and we got this call at the last minute. I didn't, at that point, I had nothing else I was able to do.
Okay. So she, for all intents and purposes, you were in a bind. She helped you out. Let's talk about John. He has some issues.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the deal?
He does. He's on Ritalin. He
All
has
right.
hyperactivity disorder.
How old is the child?
He's 12.
Okay, he's a young man. All right, preteen. All right, so he's 12 years old. He's on Ritalin because?
Well, he was diagnosed with ADHD. I have the doctor's note right here.
I'll take a look at that.
He takes his medication regularly. Here you go.
I'll take it.
That is part of the issue here, that he's a little rambunctious. Or is that an understatement?
Yeah, he's rambunctious.
Okay. You've spent time with John before.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
And when he's on Ritalin, he is actually very calm. So when I actually took him on that day,
Yes, ma'am.
he was actually very calm. So John came to my house about an hour prior to where I was going to go leave to pick up my in-laws from the airport.
Okay.
We were very close. And so I was going to pick him up, and we had the cake I made a cake for them, a welcome home cake. And so I took it out of the oven and I put it on top of the stove. And I turned around to put my shoes on and I said, John, let's go. And we went in the car. It took us about an hour and 15 minutes to get to the airport due to traffic. It was rush hour.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, he's quiet in the back. And again, he can be a little bit rambunctious. So I asked him, I'm like, what's going on? And he said, do you know that cake on the stove? And I said, yeah. He says, well, I put it back in the oven, and I put it to the highest temperature.
Coming up on America's Court.
When we got back, the fire truck was there, and there was a huge fire at my house.
Somebody has to pay for that.
Yeah, somebody has to pay for it, just not me.
And later.
He's been feeding them, so they're very friendly with people. They're not scared of anything. And I guess she basically was playing with, the leaves, and the squirrel came up and bit her.
Closed captioning provided by. If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. America's Court is back with the case of Janet Lewis, who is suing her brother for $4,500 for fire damage to her kitchen.
And so I'm panicky, don't know what to do, picking up the in-laws. We're stuck in traffic. He's at a Fleetwood Mac concert, so he's not answering the phone. And I don't have any neighbors that I could call at that time, and I didn't know what to do. And so, and to make matters worse, my in-laws were 2 hours late. So we were stuck at the airport. And when we got back, the fire truck was there, and there was a huge fire at my house.
Somebody has to pay for that.
Yeah, somebody has to pay for it, just not me.
All right. Well, Boss Ross will be the judge of that. Because what we're dealing with is there was property that was destroyed in terms of your residence.
Yes.
What is this $4,500 for?
It is for the ceiling, for the cabinets, for just the damage. I have pictures here, Your Honor.
Yes, please.
Here you go.
The evaluation of John is he can be aggressive, he can be excited, he fidgets, he's absent-mindedness, difficulty focusing, forgetful. All right. Ceiling, cabinets, what is this here? This check them out, smoke them out.
Okay.
What's that?
Yes, that's how much I paid to get all of that repaired, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. There's no contesting as to whether or not she was out of pocket $4,500. You're not questioning that.
No, I'm sure she paid the money.
Okay. And this is the damage to your kitchen?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I see. It's this way. Let's take a look at that on the plasma. That damage is pretty extensive.
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Now, what I'm trying to understand is, why do you not feel you have to pay for John's decision to put the cake back in the oven?
Well, Your Honor, a couple of things. First of all,
with one.
Well, first of all, you note from that doctor's note that he is not to be left unsupervised. He has to be supervised by an adult at all times. Now, my sister has babysat him before. She knows this. I've made it clear that she cannot let him out of her sight.
You've had John for 5 years.
Yeah.
I have 2 sons that are now teenagers. When I am home with them, there are seconds and moments in time where I don't see them. That doesn't mean I'm being irresponsible or neglectful or any other parent. You cannot watch a kid 24/7 nonstop. And if you wanted that sort of attention, that's why people spend money and hire people to give that round the clock, and even that's no guarantee.
Well, first of all, you're assuming that it was him turning on the oven that caused the fire. The fire department's report that said that there was a towel left in the oven, and the towel caught fire. Furthermore,
Well, hold on a moment. Is that true?
Yes, there was a towel left in the oven. And when I pulled it out, I had the towel, had a towel over to the side of the oven. And so he must have taken the towel to put it back in. It was a hot cake, Your Honor. I had just taken it out of the oven.
Well, I want to add a couple of things, Your Honor, that we're not talking about. First of all, she's never cleaned the oven. okay? I told her she needed to clean the oven.
What does that have to do with the price of tea in China?
Well, it could have been all that debris in the bottom of the oven that made the oven more flammable.
Okay. But it could have also been your son putting the cake back in the oven and setting it at 500 degrees.
Yeah, but it did.
Why is that not so plausible when he admits to doing it?
You know, if it was just the cake in the oven, all would have happened is it would have just kind of burnt to a crisp. Okay? There was the fact that there was a towel there
give me your
as
background,
well.
training, and expertise as it pertains to fire and how these things can explode. And I'd love to hear that. I didn't realize you had that background.
It's common sense, Your Honor.
Oh, I see. No, what's common sense is that if you turn on the oven at 500 degrees and you put something in there and you're gone for a few hours because you're taking care of an issue that's not yours, being I'm watching my brother's son so he can enjoy a Fleetwood Mac concert. I hope it was a good concert, because based on the evidence and the testimony before this court, the gavel was going to come down in favor of the plaintiff.
I don't think you have all the facts before you. I'd like to present them if I may.
I've got all the facts that I need.
Do you know, for instance, that she found out about this and waited another 2 hours till her in-laws came in and then drove back? I mean, she could have called the fire department saying, hey, I think my kitchen might be on fire.
Yeah, you could have missed that concert.
Well, I would have been happy to come home, except there was a concert. She did call me. I saw some missed calls.
So,
I didn't hear the phone.
Did you hear me say I hoped you enjoyed the concert?
Well,
did you hear me just say that?
I'm sorry that I
No,
enjoyed
I'm saying,
the
did you hear me say?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, Your Honor.
Because that concert is going to cost you $4,500. You will pay your sister. That is the order. Case closed.
Judge Ross has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is ordered to pay $4,500.
I'm excited. Now my brother has to pay me $4,500 for the damages to my kitchen.
Obviously, I don't agree with the judge's ruling, but he is right about one thing. That Fleetwood Mac concert cost me more than I expected.
And coming up on America's Court with Judge Ross.
She basically was playing with, the leaves, and the squirrel came up and bit her.
Closed captioning provided by. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. Teresa Hughes claims her neighbor is responsible for the squirrels who caused damage to her home and physical harm to her daughter. She is suing Jeremy Hernandez in the amount of $3,250. Mr. Hernandez claims that feeding squirrels is not a crime.
Ms. Hughes,
Yes, Your Honor.
got an issue with these squirrels.
Yes, sir. Yes, Your
Mr.
Honor.
Hernandez likes the squirrels.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that is where we have some not a meeting of the mind situation.
Correct.
All right. The $3,250 is for what?
It was for the damages that the squirrels have done to my property.
And delineate for me, what are those damages, ma'am?
Well, it's first of all, there's also damages that have been done to my daughter. So there's medical bills, a copay.
Your daughter is how old?
3 years old.
Oh, she's young. What's her name?
Yes. Her name's Ava Lee.
And how is it that she came in contact with the squirrels?
Well, I was actually outside in the backyard. The squirrels have become such a nuisance. Obviously, Mr. Hernandez has been feeding them over the past.
Is that true, Mr. Hernandez? You've been feeding the squirrels?
Yes, I've been feeding the squirrels, but not every day. I just leave a little bit of food out there.
Any particular reason why you decided that you were going to have these squirrels as pets?
No, they're not my pets. They're
Okay.
just from the environment. I just care about the environment a lot.
He's been
Okay.
actually he's been putting, not only has I've watched him feed the squirrels by hand, he's also put bowls of food, and there's also bird feeders out in the backyard as
Is
well.
that true, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. And why are you doing that?
You
You think that they can't survive without you?
No, they can survive without me, but
Exactly.
I'm just being nice.
Okay. Well, can you be nice and not feed them?
Well,
Because they will eat,
that's true. Well,
right? They were doing all fine without you.
Yeah.
And because what's happening is if you keep doing that, you're inviting them into your space. And what's the proximity between where you live and where you live?
We're next door neighbors.
We're
Next
next
door
door
neighbors.
neighbors.
We got a 3-year-old.
Coming up on America's Court.
She basically was playing with, the leaves, and the squirrel came up and bit her.
Closed captioning provided by. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. America's Court is back with the case of Teresa Hughes, who is suing Jeremy Hernandez for property damage and medical expenses.
How is it that she came in contact with the squirrels?
Well, I was out
I
playing
think she
with
was
her.
just not paying attention to her.
No.
You mean Mom wasn't?
No, we were outside. I was watching my daughter. She was playing.
Front yard, backyard?
Backyard.
Backyard.
Yes.
Is it fenced in?
No, it is not. We share the same backyard.
Okay. It's open.
It is open.
All right. You're in the backyard with her.
Yes.
And then what happened?
And she was playing in the grass, and there was leaves and everything. Little squirrel came down. I guess thought that she was playing with food or had food, just because he's been feeding them. So they're very friendly with people. They're not scared of anything, and I guess she basically was playing with the leaves, and the squirrel came up and bit her.
You're saying to a court, had he not been feeding squirrels in general, this particular squirrel would not have bit my daughter.
Correct.
You think that's going to fly?
Well,
Let's talk about the other monies that you're
because
looking
most
at.
squirrels they never became a problem. They were never a nuisance before until like the last 8 months.
The
And had they-
$3,250, how does that break down?
Well, because they've become such a nuisance, they've actually infested my roof, and I've noticed that they like to sharpen their teeth on sharp objects. So
Mr.
basically,
Hernandez, I'm going to interrupt you for a moment.
Okay.
She's had this conversation with you.
I've
Yes.
asked him very nicely before to please
You
do
all
not
are
feed
neighbors.
the squirrels.
She's saying, here are the issues. My vegetation, my plants, they're chewing up things. Now my daughter's been bit. What's been your response to that?
Well, I think what's happening with the squirrels on her side is that she's been overly aggressive with them. She's been shooting them with BB guns, and I think that's what.
Wait, whoa.
Yes.
You've been shooting them?
I did not shoot the squirrels with the BB gun. I had
Yes,
the
you
BB
did. I
gun.
saw
I was
you.
shooting to scare them away because they were in my garden. They were chewing through my plants and through the hose
All right,
and
you
everything.
went and bought a BB gun just to scare the squirrels.
My husband owned the BB gun.
Judge Ross's verdict when America's Court returns. You're watching America's Court with Judge Ross. This is America's Court with Judge Ross.
When you start doing that in the state of New Mexico said you can be liable if there's damage. So based on the evidence and the testimony before this court, the gavel is going to come down in favor of the plaintiff. You cannot engage in this behavior. I know it's well-intentioned and your heart may be in the right place, but your actions are carrying consequences that clearly you weren't able to foresee. Stop feeding the squirrels. Case closed.
Judge Ross has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant has been ordered to pay $3,250.
I did what I had to do to protect my daughter against the squirrels, and I'm really glad that the judge is making my neighbor pay for the damages.
I never meant to hurt any animals or children. I promise from now on I will not feed the squirrels.
Follow America's Court on Facebook and Twitter. This has been a production of Entertainment Studios.